This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 774, alongside Cody Maurice Doggett. How the hell you doing, Cody?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing this evening, boo?
I am doing really good. I have an espresso martini.
Lovely.
I am doing good. I'm feeling good. I hope you have a beverage.
I do.
Okay, good.
Tequila soda.
Okay, I like it. It works. Pull up your cocktails. We are about to get into it in our sex talk because, Cody, I just watched the new Byrd documentary and I was so impressed. And if you don't know who Byrd was, back in the day here in New York, she had a cable access show. Back in the day, remember cable access? And it was a huge
I'm too young.
I know. The thing is, I remember coming to New York in the early 90s, and wherever we would stay, we would put on the cable channel, and Byrd would interview porn stars. She started off interviewing porn stars, like straight porn stars, and then she realized that there was a slew of gay porn stars that she could bring on the show. And if she wasn't interviewing them, they were dancing, like go-go dancing on this cable access show. And she would get a lot of these adult performers on her show from places like the Gaiety. If you're listening, you would know what that is. I went to it on 42nd Street. 42nd Street used to be a slew of adult performance spots, and one of them was the Gaiety, and you would have loved it. Gay men performed there, and you could go to dark rooms or back room and meet them, and it was really hot. So I just watched this. You can watch this Byrd documentary on HBO Max. It's called Hit My Box, and it hit me on a few levels because years ago, like I said, I was also fortunate to rent her Fire Island house, my friends and I, in Fire Island. So there already was a strange personal connection. I literally stayed in her house, but I stayed in her bedroom, Cody, and it was they hadn't done much to it since the 70s, so you can just imagine. We had so much fun though, but watching the doc reminded me that Byrd was so much more than a late night cable personality or adult entertainment icon. She was creating space before it was cool to create space. She was creating space for sex, so it could be talked about without shame, where adult performers, queer people, nightlife people, outsiders, and sexual people weren't treated like they were, that they had to apologize for existing. She brought camp, humor, honesty, and sexuality into people's homes at a time when those conversations were not exactly welcomed in the mainstream. And for our community, especially during the AIDS crisis, that mattered, because when so many people were shaming gay men, ignoring us, fearing us, or reducing us to crises, she was giving space to conversations about safe sex, pleasuring our bodies, visibility, that kind of allyship that really mattered, and that kind of visibility that really mattered. And I think about today and the person, the singer, the icon that just came out with a brand new part 2, Confessions to Madonna, that just dropped July 3rd, with Confessions 2 out now.
She did it for my birthday.
She did it for your birthday as a Cancer.
So I'm
She
gonna have
did it for you.
Thank you, sis.
I'm gonna review the album a little bit later, but it brought me back to how Madonna, for me, was also one of those figures who made sex feel less shameful and more powerful, especially when I was a young gay man just coming out of the closet, not even out of the closet. She put gay men, queer bodies, sexuality, AIDS awareness, desire, grief, joy, and chosen family really into the mainstream in a way that a lot of artists weren't doing at that time, and taught us not to be ashamed. So was it Robin Byrd? Was it Madonna? Was it porn? Was it the bars that we early went to in those early days? Was it Fire Island? Was it older gay men, drag queens, a friend, a hookup, a song, a dance floor, or some late night thing we were watching that subtly made us feel like, oh, I'm not the only one? Because in some ways, our show, Cody, TAGSPodcast, Talk About Gay Sex podcast, has been carrying the sex positive baton for the last 8+ years. And I got to tell you, when we first started 8+ years ago, the only person, there was another podcast besides us, but it was really Dan Savage, and that was it. Now you can look at the landscape of podcasting, LGBTQ, and there's plenty of us, and it just goes, and I'm very happy to have been at the forefront of this, but we've talked about sex, shame, kink, HIV, PrEP, open relationships, hookups, aging, bodies, love, rejection, desire, and all the messy, funny, beautiful parts of gay life on our show over the 8+ years. And the truth is, these conversations have changed us too, I feel, at least.
Oh, yeah.
We'll ask you. We've shared things that we didn't expect to share. We've surprised ourselves. We've learned from our guests, our listeners, and each other. So today or tonight, when you're listening to us, the real question is this: who gave us permission to talk about sex, and what are we still afraid of to confess? And that's a homage to Confessions on the Dance Floor. So I guess that's, with all of this, Cody, we all had that moment when we felt comfortable and wanted to explore gay sexuality. But talking about sex and your sexuality, can you even think back on what your moment was, or who that was, or when that even happened?
About learning my own sexuality, or
and talking about it like we do.
Oh, yes.
Right.
So it was probably Madonna. We've already given her a lot of credit, but Justify My Love, that video, I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, something like that. No, I wasn't. I was like 8. But it really stuck with me, that imagery of how raw and visceral all of that was. So that was very early on, and it helped to frame how I thought about sex, and it even just registered with me that is something that was a formative memory about me, having those, even thinking about it that way, because I was very, very young. So, but I do remember distinctly that video, walking down the hallway, just her yearning, but also it was just it was just sexually charged, and it was even banned on MTV because I looked it up about what year it came out, and it was banned from MTV for how sexual it was. But I've always gravitated towards that. There's so many more other artists that really helped form my sexual identity. Janet Jackson comes to mind. George Michael comes to mind. But I think the earliest one, because Janet wasn't doing that back in the 90s, she really came into her sexual comeuppance, I would say about 96, 97, 98, somewhere around there. But then George Michael too, he was very intrinsical, that's not a word, in helping me formulate who I was as a sexual being. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you that Justify My Love was, and when I think about it, it was banned, like you said, on MTV, but she released it on video. So I think I have the VHS copy of Justify My Love and then she ended up making a lot of money off of it. And that was a lot of when I think about early conversations about sexuality, sex was to me was like my straight counterparts either in high school or when I went to gymnastic camp that were straight, hearing their stories and hearing them talk about women and who they wanted to fuck and all that kind of stuff. The only thing I heard about in the 80s was I remember going to I was probably in high school, and we went to see college gymnasts. And there was one gymnast that I remember that had gotten HIV/AIDS, and it was super hush hush, and people were talking about him. And I remember my friend who was a gymnast, he was 2 years older than me, was telling his parents, and my parents were there too, oh, he got AIDS and he deserved what he got.
Oh my God.
And that was horrible. Talking about sex. And I remember my parents not listening to it and didn't comment on it because they thought that's a human being. And they didn't give it really any air or time of day. But I knew that was the only conversations about gay sex that it was bad. So yes, by the time we got to seeing Justify My Love and Madonna in the late 80s, really putting herself out there for our community. And I'm thinking of Blonde Ambition, which she, in 89, the album came out, that was the iconic album, and Vogue came out. And that was the album that I went and saw the tour that ultimately became the Truth or Dare concert, the film, where she's really out there talking about AIDS activism. And she had a lot of gay men on her team and dancers, and she was fighting for our rights, even when many of her dancers were living with HIV, and some of them later actually contracted AIDS while they were on tour. And they couldn't even speak about it at that time. And so she was doing it before. And then came along Elizabeth Taylor. So the conversations about sex, free sex, and having sex, gay sex, all had to do around women. And women talking freely and openly about safe sex. And then we bring in Robin Byrd in 94 when I came to New York and saw her cable show. And she was a part of the AIDS epidemic and having gay men, gay porn stars on her show. And she was promoting use a rubber, use a condom. And so I would say there weren't many conversations amongst gay men. There was gay porn and viewing it, but there were no conversations that us as gay men, at least that I could see or hear or in the public media, were having. It was women like Madonna, Elizabeth Taylor, and of course, the one and only who we were just talking about, Robin Byrd.
Yeah, and I want to even add in there TLC. They were very
a little bit later, but
yeah, they were just talking about safe sex and wearing condoms all over their clothes and stuff. So, but that's like you said, just a little bit later.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we are in a place today, if we could just quickly jump, but we'll go back, in that 8 years ago, even 8+ years ago, because I think we're in the 9th year, to be honest, there wasn't a lot of conversation in the podcast arena. And that's when we started. It started with Jeremy Ross Lopez, our co-host, and I sitting in our living room talking about our sexcapades and just having a conversation. And I had been in media and learned about podcasting and thought this would make a good podcast, and just freely and openly talking about our sexual experiences. And little did I know that those conversations about just who we slept with, who we wanted to sleep with, our experiences, safety and not safety, because it was right around the time that PrEP was coming out, but people weren't really on it, that this would lead to real, we'll get into it a little bit later about what we've revealed over these 9 years.
Please don't.
And, but
No,
how it shaped
it's already
us.
out
But
there.
yeah, I mean, we are live right now, and Doug watching us live is saying, for me, my first conversation about my sexuality was with my mom's cousin, Paul, and his husband. I love it. After I was outed at 18, okay, they were the only people I felt comfortable talking to about it. Yeah. And I would say, and add to that, Doug, that aside from, I think the first person I came out to was my sister's best friend who was gay, who's our family friend. And I remember being in his Honda Civic, and he created a space that if I had to share anything with him, that I could do so. And I knew he was gay, but I knew my parents didn't know. I knew my sister knew, but I hadn't told anybody in my family yet. And I revealed to him that, yes, I am gay. And it was about 19 years old. And he was the only person, but we did it in a Honda Civic before I was getting dropped off to go back to my parents. And it was that secretive thing. Thank goodness for our family friend, Kevin, that he presented that to me, like your friend, Doug. But I mean, there weren't that many spaces to hear about it. And even if, Cody, you look at, there's a follow-up to Truth or Dare, and it's like, whatever happened to the dancers of Truth or Dare, and where are they now? And we covered
There was a
it.
documentary on that, right?
It's a really good documentary on that. And those dancers talked about how they were seeing Madonna during the Blonde Ambition tour really talk about AIDS awareness and the loss of Keith Haring and many of her friends, and how she was such an advocate and fighting for safe sex at the time. And they themselves were dealing with being HIV positive, but they didn't even feel comfortable at that time, even though their boss, Madonna, and being on tour with her was advocating for it. They still were dealing with being HIV positive and the shame and everything that came with it. So when you think about that, it has been not that long that we've been comfortable talking openly, not with, and I bless them, women leading it, but just as us gay men talking about it openly.
Yeah, there was just so much stigma, and there was so much secretiveness around it, and sex in general. I feel like, especially during the 80s, I feel like all that stuff was just very hush hush. And I think the sexual revolution that happened in the 70s, I think when the 80s came around and then AIDS, it really put a damper on things. I mean, I know it was just something that it got people back into the closet. And I think there was like conservativeness that was looming after that as well. But then I think in the 90s and the early 2000s, there was another wave where we just started talking about sex again, and we just started to be more free because I want to say that there was a lot less danger, at least I perceived a lot less danger around the HIV crisis, because we kind of got a handle on it, especially with condoms and things of that nature. So I feel like that freed up everybody to be a little bit more, to lean into their sexuality just a little bit more. So I really feel like because of that, and because of the women that came before us that were talking about it and making sure that we understood how to be safe, I feel like that is why a lot of the talks that came about and the conversations that people were having, I feel like that's where that stemmed from.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And I just think, now we get people, listeners and people, these conversations are so important. I mean, now on our show, we still talk about coming out and 3-ways and all the fun stuff about our gay sexuality and tantra, but we also talk about connection now. So over the last several years, before podcasts or Substack, I now have a Substack where I can dive deep into, I can take the podcast and take the show and give you more insight into my sexuality. In Instagram educators and TikTok sex therapists are around today, people like Robin Byrd were creating before messy, imperfect, bold spaces for sexual conversation. These were important because there weren't that many spaces where actual gay people talked about sexuality. And I mean, I think that's crazy to think we had these spaces, we were having sex, but we weren't talking about it. And when we first started the show, someone says, well, why are you talking about it? People just want to have sex. It's because no one's ever given us the space. They've demonized, there's been homophobia about gay sex to men. And as we've learned throughout the 9+ years, there are so many layers to our sexuality and exploration, and it evolves through time that no, we have to talk about it. And I'm not even layering in the new layers of keeping us safe through PrEP and PEP and all the doxy PEP that is keeping us from, alive. And U equals U, you've got to factor in. And if you have all those things and you're just having sex, but you're not talking about it in a way that really connects with people, you're missing out a major component. And as a communications major, it made sense that we've got to talk about this stuff and relate. What do you say to that?
With you. I totally agree with you. I think that if you're not talking about sex, how do you know you're doing it right?
And then there's that. Yeah.
Well, communication is a very important component in the sex, because I feel like for you and your partner to learn each other, to talk to, that is, you have to communicate and let your lover know what is important to you as far as sex is concerned. So that in and of itself is learning how to be better at sex. But there's also so many layers you need to talk to yourself about how you feel about sex as well, because that is how you learn yourself and how you are exploring your entire sexuality, because it's not cut and dry. As much as people want to say it's wham bam thank you ma'am, there's so many more facets to sexuality and being a sexual being out there in the world. So if we're not talking about it, how are we learning about ourselves and how are we learning about the world and everything that exists out there? Because like you mentioned, there's tantra, there's so many things that you can explore. There's sides out there. There is bondage. There's so many ways. Exactly. There's so many ways to be a sexual being out there in the world. It's just not necessarily cut and paste, whole thingy in the hole. It's not as simplistic as people want to make it. And it's, for me, especially, it's not all about procreate. For me, it's not anything about procreation. And that's what so many people want you to believe.
Well, exactly. And let's talk about the Madonna angle for a second, because a lot of what she's talked about and why this album is Confessions 2 and Confessions on the Dance Floor, the original one, it's reminding us that, and I want to say for this particular album, she's really reached out to our community for all of the promotions, and there's been so much marketing towards our community, starting with Grindr performing at the Abbey in Times Square when she said, "Come on, gays." And it's reminding us that the dance floor, and it's called Confessions on the Dance Floor. And there's a song when you listen to it that says people think that the dance floor and dance music is superficial, but it's actually not. It's a ritualistic place of connection where movement imbibes with those that you connect with on the dance floor. And I have to say, and this really, I think, is the connection of all those years where we didn't have podcasts, people like Dan Savage talking about gay sex, but we did have the dance floor. And the dance floor is where you connected with people, and it was like an unspoken language where you could express your sexuality, your freedom to be gay, your freedom to connect for years. And we were just dancing in Central Park for Pride a couple weeks ago, and it didn't matter if it was 2 weeks ago at this Pride or 15 years ago. I can look across or to the next person. And I just remember 2 weeks ago looking at this, I was dancing with Diego. I think you were taking a break, sitting on the sidelines for a
I was
second.
sitting down. My feet.
Your
We were
feet
dancing
were-
for like how many hours? 5 hours. I feel like we were dancing.
Yeah,
and
I
was
know.
Like,
and I
need to go
remember looking over
pop a
at
squat.
these two guys dancing, and one of them he was definitely way younger than me. And so looked over at me and we smiled at each other and we kept looking back, not in a way like, oh my gosh, let's go ravage each other. But it was like happy pride, like our eyes indicated, this is a beautiful moment. We are in Central Park. We are free to dance. He gave me the smile. I gave it back to him that let each other know you belong, I belong. We, of course, we're probably different generations, but we connected just on the dance floor dancing. I was like letting it loose. He was too. And it was that unspoken language that you can only get on the dance floor. And I think that's why her two albums, 1 and 2, it's a love letter to what many gay people, when we didn't have the language to talk about, which now we do, TikTok, sex therapists, our show, other podcasts, when we didn't have that, we always had the dance floor. And what do you say to that about the dance floor and how it's always been around since the 70s and beyond? But
yeah, it was the one way we could express ourselves that wasn't, I want to say demonized, but I feel like it was probably demonized in some form or fashion, but it was the most acceptable way for us to actually express ourselves, to go out there and be as gay as we could, dancing to disco music and whatever music was popularized at the moment. So I think that dancing is intrinsic to the gay community, and really just going out there and like being with community. I feel like that is one of the most important things.
Community.
It's really so intrinsic to our culture that we got to, when we get together, we are stronger than when we are apart, basically.
Yeah, I mean, back to that party 2 weeks ago, iconic Central Park, looking around and seeing so many happy faces and allies that are supporting us with amazing music. Shout out to SG Lewis, who was spinning, who I just love him, who's, by the way, not gay and an ally, and was spinning for us in the community. And I think that was our language. And I think when we didn't have the language to talk freely and openly about our sexuality, we always had the dance floor, which really brings us to in the last several years, where we have things like our podcast. And believe me, I never thought that doing a sex podcast would be around 9+ years and there would still be things to talk about that we haven't. And we have really asked each other questions about our sex and revealed things about ourselves. I know you have, I know I have, that I never thought. This has been the space, Cody, where I was a bottom, and I became less shameful about being a bottom, and I am now versatile today, and I'm open about that, where was single for so many years, and then now I'm married, and I talk about my sex within marriage and what that looks like, and how when we are open. It is also the place where I have explored in the 9 years, where I explored the BDSM culture and what that looked like and how it worked for me at times and how it didn't work for me, and how I ran for New York Mr. Eagle in that phase. I mean, so much has come, not to mention the health concerns and people like the good doctor, Dr. Goldstein, that is really, he's one of a kind doctor that looks out for our ass health. Still in a time, Cody, where we don't have that many doctors that really know our ass health and what to look out for.
Yeah, I saw him today. Shout out to Dr. Goldstein. Hi, he really saved my ass, literally. So yeah, I think all of that. I don't even know where to touch. I think that we as a people I'm glad that we're coming into our own. I'm glad that we're really we have all these resources now, and I hope that we utilize them, and that we're not really taken them for granted because people in the back, they would hope to have the things that we have right now. So yeah, I hope that, we need to be thankful, and we also need to keep fighting for more privileges and more rights in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time to explore your sexuality when you have not only just shows like us, but you've got media, you've got ads on major networks for PrEP, free PrEP by people like Mr. Apps, of course, porn, people creating their own social media game. There's so many. We're going to, in the next several weeks, we're going to have some really good guests on the show, sex therapists, about dating, sexuality. And it's the summer of exploring a lot of that with a lot of our special guests, which we didn't have. Again, reminding us this is all pretty new to our community. I mean, when you think about it, 9 years ago, there wasn't that much on the landscape, Cody, and now we've got all of this. But still, we struggle with kink shame, aging. We're going to talk in a little bit about aging. HIV stigma still does exist. STI stigma still exists. Open relationship judgment. A lot of things. Being sexually adventurous. I mean, there's a lot, right? That we still, yeah. Do you think that we have to, yeah.
Muddle through. Go ahead. What was your question?
Do you think that, I mean, gay men are more sex positive now or than before?
I think in the 70s, that's a hard time to beat as far as sex positivity goes. In my personal opinion, I wasn't there. But for me, I think that was a penultimate expression of gay freedom, just from what I've seen and what I read about. But I think that we're getting there, honestly. I think we are more free now than we were in previous years. And I think that we're also willing to fight if things tend to get a little bit more restrictive, because we've learned so much from the past and how people that want to dampen our shine, how they go about dampening that shine and how we can counteract it. So I think that we are on our way to being liberated as a community. And I think that it just starts by like what we're doing, by talking about it, by expressing who we are as human beings, and trying our best not to live with shame, because shame is built into us by society. So I think that the more we talk about things, the more we express ourselves, the more shame falls off of us, and the more that we can actually lean into being our true, authentic sexual selves, as well as our whoever we are as human beings as well. So, yeah.
I mean, I got to agree with you that I think, yes, there was the sexual revolution in the 70s, but we weren't freely and openly available to talk about it. And, with everything that's going on in the world and people get off your phones in this, we are living in a time where there's access to sex therapy, relationship coaches, shows like ours that we can really talk about this stuff. I think our friends, community, we are talking openly about these things and where we're at. Reddit is a great space when you are figuring out sex, relationships, what you want to do next in life as a gay person, an LGBTQ person, that you can put it out there and you don't necessarily have to abide by what they respond to. But we didn't have that. We were actors in the past, but we have sounding boards and professionals now that we can communicate about this stuff. And that's why I think our show continues to talk about gay sex, but we've now, if you noticed, a lot of our shows are about finding connection, because now we can layer that in, because without talking openly about just the thing that made us free to have sex, we weren't able to just talk about connection. And now we're moving on to finding real connections in various ways and capacities. So it's an exciting time, I think, to be around and to be gay and to explore your sexuality.
Yeah, and connection is is an important part of sex, in my personal
Yeah.
opinion. It doesn't have to be in every sexual encounter, but I think that connection, when you have it, and when you are you have that level to your sexual encounter, I think that is something that it really enhances it, in my personal opinion. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Is there a comment that
Bryce says, shout out to Madonna for including one of the most famous classical piano pieces in her song Betrayal. And the gay scene in Oklahoma is definitely not free. The straight scene is more welcoming and safe, and that is a shame.
I love it. I love it. And let's continue this conversation over on our Patreon community, because I do think, a couple of things. I think there's more to talk about. One thing, though, if you're looking for a really good documentary to watch this summer, Bang My Box. Bang My Box. It's the Robin Byrd story. And even if you didn't live in New York, she is a part of history. And what you learn in the documentary is that now she's archiving a lot of this because they really want to study it, because she was ahead of her time. It's fascinating, and it talks about our community. It talks about Fire Island, and her particular story is a slice of life that really was an allyship to our community when she didn't realize she was being, but she was. And it's such a, it takes what we're talking about, and she was at the forefront of this. And so Bang My Box, HBO Max, you can watch it, check it out.
And the archive is at robinbyrd.com, ROBINBYRD.com.
ROBYN, yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And I do want to shout out to the one and only Madonna, because the album dropped last Friday, July 3rd. It is so good. I wanted to show everybody my vinyl.
Woo! Come on, vinyl.
And there's a red, it's red. I'll just show you a little bit of this. It's, you can choose various versions. My sister's going to get a different one, but look at the vinyl, Cody.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And the original one I have, Confessions on the Dance Floor, is hot pink. And so I have them side by side. And yeah, I just wanted to review the album really quickly. It is really, it's getting so many great reviews. I already didn't need to read the reviews, but they're talking Grammys. They're talking it's going to debut at #1. It's her most prolific from lyrics. And I have to say, there's a song about her brother that, she was close to back in the day, and wrote a tell-all book about her. I met him years ago, Christopher. He passed away, sadly, a few years ago. And the song's called Fragile. There's a song with her daughter, Lourdes, that's beautiful. But there's so many bangers and dance songs. Danceteria is an homage to the
so good,
amazing yeah, it's really from beginning to end. I played it yesterday in the gym from beginning to end. It's that good. Listen to it. I mean, I don't think there's any other artist that has been around, has the longevity that she has, to be around at 67, about to turn 68, that is still killing it, about to have the #1 album on Billboard's 200 and maybe Grammy nominated, that could still be doing it at all these years. There's none. And so it's really lyrical and musical, and most importantly, which was my theme before I knew this was coming out, is to dance. And so I think you're going to like it. If you're a semi-Madonna fan, I think you'll really like it. And if you're a Madonna fan, I'm sure you're already listening to it. So let us know. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let's continue this conversation over on our Patreon community, where the conversation continues all week. You can go to patreon.com/TAGSPodcast. A good time to mention my new Substack as well, The Naked Truth on Substack, where I take a lot of these topics, and there's a free tier where I talk more about in a different way, openly, about some of the stuff we talk on the show where we don't have time to. But then I also do a paid tier where I go deeper into my sexuality and give you some really good insights that hopefully enlighten maybe you. And that's all I could hope for. But it's a lot of fun writing this. I'm really happy. It's on Substack. It's called The Naked Truth Steve V. The Naked Truth Steve V. So look that up or go to show notes where you can get all of that. But it is time to get into hot topics, and there are a lot. I first wanted to just talk, if you'll indulge me, Cody, because a lot of you, and I did want to shout out to one of our listeners. I mentioned him the other day, but I didn't really I didn't know his name, but it is, let me just get it really quickly. I believe it's Daryl from Houston, who greeted me at the event that we were at in Central Park. And and he saw a lot of theater that week. Yes, let me just make sure I got his name. Daryl from Houston, Texas. Yes. Who was shout out to you, and thanks for listening. And he saw a lot of theater while he was in town, and he wanted to hear what I thought of Titanique. It's a spoof on Titanic, and I'm all about at the core Celine Dion. And I'm wearing a T-shirt today, which it's all on a cruise ship, right? It's called my T-shirt says Big Deck Energy. Get it? Big Deck Energy. Is it cute?
Yeah, it's
super cute. Oh my God, it is. Dara wanted to know, was it cringe or is it good? No. If you love a good spoof, it's a spoof on Titanic, a spoof on Celine Dion, and we all know how she can be. But it's an homage to her too, because they play Deborah Cox, honey, sings All By Myself and tears the house down. We love Deborah Cox. Come on.
We love Deborah Cox. And I hear she slays.
Jim Parsons plays the mother in it, and he is hilarious, and I've seen him on Broadway before. A shout out to Constantine, the lead and one of the writers of it, who wrote this, as well as the Celine Dion character. And there's one other person. Oh, Frankie Grande is excellent in this. He is so good in this. He plays two characters and does it so well. My sister, Diego, and I were laughing. The entire audience was beside themselves. It is that good. It is hilarious. The music is great. And I saw it on a stage reading version of it 8 years ago. And to see it make its way to Broadway, and I believe Bowen Yang is one of the producers because I so believed in it, to know what it takes to get a show to Broadway and to finally see it, it was amazing. Just, if you come into New York, put it on your radar. It's that good. So good. We loved it.
Love it. Gotta go see it.
Yes. Which brings us into hot topics and somebody we were just talking about, Frankie Grande, who also has a memoir out, as well as me. He plays Victor Garber and Luigi in Titanique, and he's hilarious, but he has a new memoir out, which I think is really good. And he was kind of miffed a little bit. Remember, don't read the comments, Cody?
Oh, definitely.
He was miffed during Pride when somebody was asking people, who is your biggest gay celebrity fan that you want to shout out, right? And somebody said, honestly, Frankie Grande. And then somebody in the comments then said basically that, oh, you're just trying to suck up to get those Ari tickets, in which Kiehl's, the brand, the facial brand Kiehl's, actually sidled up to that. A major brand reshared the video of the comment and said, whoever said Frankie Grande really wants those Ari, whoever said Frankie Grande was the gay celebrity really wants those Ari tickets, with laughing emojis, in which prompted Frankie, to say, are you serious? How can you say we love the humor you're bringing to our glowing community when it's literally a hate comment? I agree with him on this one. However you feel about Frankie Grande, that a brand to glom on to, oh, you really want his sister's tickets, and that's why you said he's a gay icon, and that's not nice and that's not hateful. What do you say to that? And a major brand.
Yeah, I think it's piling on basically because like Kiehl didn't have to say anything, but I think he's probably had enough of this. I think he's heard these kinds of comments for a long time because I don't, as much as he's done, because I actually saw him in I think Cruel Intentions, the musical, and because he's done a lot of work and he's like he's an established uh, theater actor. He's been out there. He's done a lot of things. So for him to do all the things he's done and still people comment, "Oh, you're just this to your sister," and people only like you because of your sister, and all these things. I'm sure it's gotten to him, and because he's a human being at the end of the day. So I see his point. I won't be making any jokes like that. I don't think I ever have, but I definitely will stay away from them now because I know it's a sensitive spot for him. So let's be kind to each other.
Yeah, I agree. We were just talking on episode 773 about a new trend that gays were talking about that says the trunks for summer, the swimming pool, the beach, gays are going towards the trunks. And you and I and Jeremy Ross Lopez says, wear whatever you want in the end. And we added to that conversation when we said, whether it's a Speedo, trunks, or you said a thong or naked, I said, that has come when diver, Bryden Hattie was in LA recently and was sporting a thonged out on a cheeky vacay in LA. For those of you watching, and I'll post it on our tags Patreon community. I'll post it right now so you guys can see what we're talking about. It's our thirst trap today because we don't have one to talk about.
Yeah.
But he was all about his LA moment, rocking that thong. And how do you think he looked in there?
I mean, from that angle, he looks juicy-licious.
I'll say.
I was quite pleasantly surprised by his ample assets in the back there. So yeah, I'll definitely be wearing my thong. I don't know if my butter looked that juicy, but I'm gonna do what I can do. Okay, little butts matter too, y'all.
And one thing we forgot to mention when we were layering in the trunks, the Speedo, then we added in the thong and naked, was what Hudson Williams recently wore in a short film, a Canadian short film called The Mankini. I'll post this right now if you're watching us live, but I'll also post this. And a mankini basically sounds like what it really is. It's like a woman's one-piece bikini. It's not even a bikini because it's almost like a one-piece. Yeah. Or I would actually describe it, at least what he was wearing, like a wrestler's outfit.
But it was all string. It wasn't even like covering anything. It was like string up top here and then covering his genitalia and then a thong up his ass.
So almost like really a one piece, but
string one piece.
Yeah. I mean, I think he looks super sexy in it, but I don't know. I would opt more for, because I have some of these wrestling suits and I think they look super sexy, and I have a couple of versions of them. Some of them, Cody, you can zip from the beginning to the ass region. So when you want to play, and then you can get down and dirty. I'm not really for the mankini. It's a little too...
Borat? Because Borat wore one of these. So I'm okay. I'm good on the mankini too. Hudson, to each their own. Good for you for being brave enough to wear that. You won't see me in one anytime soon. We'll see if you pay me enough.
I love it. And let's keep it on the summer and what we're going to be doing this summer. And what is summer penis? Well, experts have been assessing if seasonal heat can actually make your bulge bigger. I'm for this. Some say it's a fallacy, Cody.
Hey.
But apparently, studies have shown summer penis is kind of a colloquial term, and the internet has been abuzz about for a while. This temporary size increase has been seen with a lot of bulges growing bigger in Speedos or on the naked beach, but it has something to do with heat. When you're in high heat, your dick can appear to look a little bit bigger. And I've noticed this like on the naked beach too, that my junk looks a little bit bigger and plumper, if you will, especially when it's free to be on its own. But it's not.
Sorry.
But there are advocates that say, yeah, it is, but it doesn't necessarily last that long, and people shouldn't put too much emphasis on that. Have you noticed your junk being a little bit plumper and bigger because of the heat, because it's actually real, working with the heat?
Yeah, mine is just always, I'm horny all the time, so it's plump constantly. So yeah, I think honestly though, I really do think that it is something that it happens. It happens naturally. Shrinkage is a thing, so of course the opposite or the inverse is going to be something that happens as well. When there's heat, things expand, and that goes for your junk too. So enjoy it while you got it.
That's what I think people are talking about, but then other experts say it's a fallacy because the minute you get into cooler, colder water, it can shrink up. But I'm all here for, I think where this works, this trend that, yeah, your junk looks bigger and all that, is if you are somebody that goes to the naked beach, then enjoy it. And a lot of times when you're on the naked beach, you are just flaccid, but it can lure other people because use that time and take advantage of it when you're on the naked beach.
Are we peacocking?
Yeah, peacocking. Absolutely. Is what I do.
Unintended.
Absolutely. So whether it's a real thing or not, I think it's worth, yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Cool. I'll be utilizing it this summer.
Exactly. Well, two things that we want you to know about. One of them is Homo Block 2026. Homo Block, I wish I was in Europe, but will feature the queer party's most club-focused lineup to date. And I think this is really good. It's an international celebration, but I think it's happening. Did we find out where it's actually happening, Cody?
No, I didn't even read that part. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I mean, because I'll read you some of the people that are going to be there. Cody will look for, where it's actually at. But Homo Block is full of allies or people within our arena. It's featuring Manchester, of course, Kim Petras, Honey Dijon. We've got Palms Tracks, Girls Don't Sink, who I love, Horse Meat Disco, DJ Gigolo, Miss Bashful, Fat Tony, DJ Paulette, Jordan, which has a new label, He, She, Them, which I love, Lady Shaka, Isabella, Ponyboy, Alcatraz, Adiva, Gina Breeze, Tim Lennox, Jamie Bull, Mike Hutz, Fly Girl, a ton. It's going to be so much fun. Homo Block Party promoter Rod Connolly said the queer block party is excited to bring together global queer icons, underground heroes, and the next generation of artists who we trust in pushing queer culture and electronic music forward. In times like these, the connection felt at large-scale events like Homo Block is absolutely crucial for the community. A sea of 10,000 souls, all under one roof, dancing till we are free. It's so powerful. You leave knowing that we are the many and the people who demonize us are the few. Would you go to this, Cody?
Yeah, in a hot second. I love Kim Petras. I love dance music. Dance floor is not dead. Madonna revived it.
Yeah.
So I would go in a hot second. Let's go.
Let's
book a trip to Manchester.
And there's a brand new photo book where people and bigger guys are celebrated, all kinds of images. They're only 2 dicks visible, according to photographer Joseph Wolfgang
That was
Olhart
hilarious for him to say.
of his new photo book, Bigger. He adds, of the men who took part, they're not depicted in a sexual way. It's about intimacy, the love that's there. He said he grew up in Germany. For me, nudity is normal. If someone's naked in the park, you let them be. My family has a garden and a pool. We are always jumping in naked. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And his new book, Bigger, they're not depicted, like I said, in a sexual way, but there's all kinds of interesting poses, and it's celebrating.
Sensual, though.
Yeah. And I think I'll post this on tags. What do you think of this book, Bigger?
Love it. All bodies are beautiful. And yeah, I need to go to Germany so I could be naked in the park.
Absolutely. Tiergarten in Berlin is amazing. So you got to check that out. Well, it's no stranger to us giving advice, and today is no different. This one comes from Reddit when they asked the question, where do guys go on dates? This person wrote, 33, nerdy, jock hair. After going on several dates throughout life, I've realized I'm really not a fan of dinner dates. They just feel too restrictive and job interview-like. I much prefer an activity or going for a walk so I can see how someone interacts with the environment around them. So I'm curious, what do guys like to do on a first date? And we are about to have, in the coming weeks, a relationship sex therapist coach on our show. And he says, do not go to a movie and really do something that's active. Find something that's active. I mean, I'll go back to my first date with Diego. We went on a hike because I learned that he is into hikes. And the date lasted hours and hours and hours and hours. And I couldn't get enough. But it was active. We communicated, but I'm with the active date. What are you for?
I like a nice coffee or cocktail date. It's not, you don't have too much that is like, you don't have to spend too much time doing that if you don't like the person, especially on a first date. But if it's the second date, I do like dinner. But I also like, somebody in the comments mentioned a movie. Mini golf. Not a movie, mini golf, which I thought was a good thing.
Active.
But I also, yeah. But I also like a nice picnic in the park too. So I've been known to have dates in the park.
So I think let's combine both of ours because I agree with you. I say that early first initial date, maybe something totally active takes more time. So to see if they get past that, if you're interested, do a cocktail or a coffee date, or you once said a nice walk in the park. Yeah. Something simple that won't last that long, where if you're like, ugh, not into them, you're not committed. But once but once you're moved on and you've both decided, hey, you know what? Let's go on a more proper date. That's the time I'd say to make it more active, like a hike, like mini golf, like a picnic in the park. Because picnic in the park, you can also bring fun games. There's all kinds of paddle boards. You're looking at a lot of different people. You can go walking. It's still active. And so I'm combining both of our advice and make that first one just a coffee or a cocktail where you can just have one coffee, one drink. And if they move on to that, then do the active date.
Perfect.
Can I get an amen?
Amen, honey. Amen. We're doing God's work over here. The Lord's work.
And lastly, we were just talking about the naked beach. And somebody wrote, how to get confident at nudist beach. And I feel you already because I was not confident. And I believe you weren't either when you first went to the naked beach. This person wrote, we need to go back and we will this summer. It's early. They wrote, I'm 33. It took me 3 years and 60 plus kilos down to get the courage to go to the nudist beach. In other words, they lost a lot of weight. Now I feel free and awesome to be laying on the beach completely naked, but also feeling anxious from other guys looking at me and judging me. Tried to talk to some guys, but no one seems to bother to be interested in a friendly chat. thought of going to the cruising area behind the beach is so hot. How can I know if the guys there would be interested? I'm not top model, nor masculine, nor feminine, and definitely not well endowed. It seems like guys there are interested only in 10 inches and plus muscles. I think the thing to keep in mind with Naked Beach is just go there with you've already gotten over the hard part, which is just be free with your body. Talk to people. Don't make it all about the sex thing. If it happens, great. What do you say to this?
Yeah. First of all, 10 inches at the beach is wild, nasty work right there. I don't know. But I do think that I agree with you. Take your time. You don't have to get naked at first. I think that is an important component. Just be comfortable. Also, I went with my best friend and another friend of ours. So go with people that you feel comfortable with. And then I feel like a lot of other things will flow. And go to the hookup area when you are fully comfortable.
Great advice, and we are here for you. We're at the end of our hour. I can't believe it. You can always follow my co-host, Cody Maurice Doggett, on the gram and Blue Sky at Mr. Maurice. Mr. Maurice. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. Go to our Tags Patreon community, patreon.com/TAGSPodcast. Check out my Substack, The Naked Truth Steve V. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex. It's lovely. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.